last video was about the original Trollhunters book. And since I already discussed this book in my last video, which you can watch, I'll be discussing a comic book from the Netflix series. I'll be discussing the secret history of Trollkind. And I have my notes right here. I had to annotate everything that was problematic, because this book is supposed to be canon to the Netflix series. The Netflix series is actually pretty good, so I do recommend that you do watch it. This book takes place, I think, in the second half of the first season of Trollhunters, from the looks of it. During a training session, Blinky describes the both triumphs and failures of Jim's predecessor, Kanjigar. The comic book starts with Jim being totally exhausted from training. Blinky, Arg, Claire, and Toby are all there with him, and Blinky starts to share tales of his predecessor, Kanjigar, Battle of Kilahead. And I already have problems with this. So right away, on to page 12, we can see everyone who's fighting in the battle. Yet, according to wizards, the humans were there fighting alongside them. And nowhere in this book is a human. Anywhere. Even when we saw an illusion created by Merlin in the last season of Trollhunters, there was no humans. The Knights of Camelot did not fight in the Battle of Kilahead. So there's one inaccuracy. So much for history, am I right? Also, the Battle of Kilahead in this book takes place in a field, not a forest, like it did in Wizards. I don't think the illusion created by Merlin in the last season of Trollhunters was also in a forest, but I think it was like a forest/field. I think there was trees in there. Also, this battle, Arg is also one of the bad guys. He hasn't reformed yet, but in Wizards, Arg reformed before the Battle of Kilahead. So clearly something is wrong. There are so many inaccuracies all throughout this novel, and it bugs me. Namora is also in here, but she didn't exist yet. Because in Wizards, the first changeling was Janus. He was the first changeling, so how could Namora exist? For this book does seem like it does take place in the 12th century, I believe. So they got that one thing right. There's also a part of this book that says centuries later, after they dismantled the bridge, so it definitely does take place in the 12th century. And then after they dismantled the bridge, the trolls started to leave their home in search of a new place to call home. And they did this until 1609, the year of the first voyage of the Mayflower, which was an English vessel. The Trollhunter, the current Trollhunter, which was Dea, or in Wizards, Callista, she dies. She was slain by Buller. And then the amulet zooms past everyone and picks Kanjigar. And that's a problem. Because in Wizards, Callista, Dea, was the first Trollhunter. And if Kanjigar was the next Trollhunter, we know that Jim was the Trollhunter after Kanjigar. So that means there was only 3 Trollhunters. But that's not true, because in Trollhunters, there was many Trollhunters. All the dead Trollhunters went into the void and became ghost guides for Jim. And there was many of them, so how could there only be 3 Trollhunters? Jim was the last Trollhunter. Whether or not you think Rise of Titans was a canon movie, I don't. So there could be another Trollhunter after Jim. So clearly, this book has some problems. And then after Dea dies, the trolls keep moving. They go through many villages, some Native American, some Western. While they're traveling, they run into Arg, who left the Battle of Kilahead. And he had found Dea's body and returned it to the trolls as a gift. And on the way to Arcadia, their new home, they run into some mountain trolls. A troll like Goddo and his little minions. And since the mountain trolls were not friendly, Kanjigar and the other trolls had to fight them. And eventually the mountain trolls did give up and surrender. And then we come to the end of the novel, when the trolls finally find the new troll market that they were looking for. And at the very last page, we see Buller and it's our changeling, Strickler. And the year, exactly, is 1875, which makes sense, because Strickler is like 300 years old at the point of Trollhunters, so that makes sense. And now, this novel is problematic, not just because it's historically inaccurate to the series, but because it was written by a producer and writer from Trollhunters. He co-wrote this comic book with another writer. And I don't blame that other writer because I really doubt he really knew much about the Trollhunters franchise. The producer/writer of this novel that worked on Trollhunters was none other than Mark Guggenheim. He also wrote Rise of Titans alongside Guillermo del Toro, which I doubt, and to other people. I judge Mark Guggenheim harshly for this because he created this novel alongside another writer, so he should have known the history behind the Trollhunters. So, and yet it was completely wrong to the wizards, which he also did work on. So that means he betrayed the own lore that he created. And if any writers are watching this video, little tip for creating history. It is set in stone. You do not change it, ever. You have to work your story around the history. Unless you make your history kind of vague, then you can twist it around and then it can be believable. Or you can do like Mark Guggenheim did, and people like me will poke holes and rip your story to shreds. That's always fun for me. And whether or not this book is actually canon to the franchise, it's debatable. People in the fandom have been debating it for a while. I don't really care which one because Wizards complicated everything with its time travel and messed everything up. So it doesn't really matter what's canon or not. If there's anyone else who actually bothered to read this comic book, please comment your thoughts down in the comment box.